Hey everyone, my name is Kristin Louise and welcome to The Up. This one is a podcast recording that I'm throwing in. I had several lined up already, as in recorded, and I'm throwing it in real time. And when I feel led to do something, I just think it's important. And it's been on my heart the last 2 nights, and I want to really devote May, starting the podcast back in May, right after my birthday again, just like last year. And I really want to devote much of May to mental health. I always try to want to use the platform that I have for a good cause, to promote events that are worthwhile, fundraising when I can. And mental health, there's probably not another topic that I feel more strongly about, to be honest with you. And I think because I have been impacted, but the older I get, the more I understand humans, the more I speak and learn, speak with and learn from people, it really impacts everybody. And, I've heard that same thing said of cancer. Like, everybody knows somebody that suffers from cancer. And I think it's even more prevalent. Like, mental health issues are all too common and often still swept under the rug in 2025. I know I was having a very delicate conversation with somebody about mental health issues just 2 years ago, and I felt like they were definitely stuck about 30 years ago in their mindset. And how do you politely tell somebody, like, you're wrong? This wasn't a person. I'm a great debater, I'll be honest with you, but I don't really like to debate people that I respect. I do think our words can be weapons, and I really prefer to have a life-giving conversation when I can. I will say, if people stir the pot, there are certain topics that really will trip my trigger. I think we all have those, but what also will do that, and I think many of you have seen in the last year online, is people either putting words in my mouth. That's my favorite one, where I'll go back to the post and none of the words are present, or they just won't even read a post. They won't even read the words because there's too many. I've said too much. I'm drawing a hard line in the sand as I'm about to kind of embark on a new frontier, and I've been working really hard on the back end of my new career. Essentially, I'm still doing some marketing. I'm enjoying getting back into coaching for sure. That's been really fun, thanks to both of the groups of 75 Alive. I wasn't sure I still had it in me. I think there's like presenter mode, and then there's like counseling, coaching mode. Those are like two different people. And I feel really solid about my presenter mode. Last year, my first kind of dive back into work, I guess, full-time work, was taking a job with a social media company and essentially presenting some training topics. And I love the structure of that. I knew exactly what was expected of me, and I'm somebody where if I can rehearse and I can study, I can usually nail it. And it was not, emotional to me at all, so it was not tough for me to present. I'm a little sensitive, so that can be a challenge. But everything was great, and I thought the project ended. It just ended in January. I thought it ended very well, and I really enjoy learning, like truly. And I felt like, wow, not only did I get paid and do a good job for them, but like I learned a ton. I had been out of the game for a couple of years, and I felt really thankful that they took that, leap on me. I really felt thankful. And all too often, I believe mental health in a woman's life, mental health can be severely impacted by the career force. I had this conversation a few days ago, and by conversation I mean audio message, because that's how I conversate with everybody. It's rare for me to get on a phone call other than for work anymore. We're all so busy, and I just typically am in writing mode so much. I don't want to type or look at email. I just want to send an audio note. So often I will do that, and I was messaging back and forth with a friend, and we all go through times in our careers where we second guess ourselves. we all go through times as mothers, I can say, knowing many, many moms staying at home and working, I can say every single one of those probably has felt like they're making the wrong choice for their family at some point, for some reason. It's really a delicate balance, especially because a female tends to be like the default parent. And I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm just saying I think that's the norm. They're the one that has the kids' appointments, in the noggin, and the clothing sizes and just everything. Google default parent if you need to. And if you have to Google default parent, know that you're not that one. Okay? But this isn't all about parenting. It's just like me being an empathetic human, having these conversations that kind of crop up repeatedly. And this friend is so wonderful and does so much, but I feel like as women, a lot of times it's never going to be enough. Like, we have to rock out a corporate job. We have to not be emotional because men aren't emotional in their decisions. And on top of that, we have to have a clean house, and our kids have to be well behaved. We need to be raising them a certain way. We need to be giving back to the community. And it's just like, you could argue these for a man too, but I can only speak for myself. And I hang out with a lot of moms in this season. I'm the stay-at-home marketer, so I am working and momming. And right now we're in summer break, and my babysitters for the summer are still in high school, so they're still going to school for another week. So I guess had more time to think recently too. And in my DMs, a lot of times I will get people saying, hey, thank you for that post, or hey, thank you for that story, or, that really changed my perspective, because I do post about some heavier topics sometimes. And sometimes all the person needed to do was scroll and see, I love you, because I said I love you online. And that's what they needed in that moment. And that's why I made a commitment. God placed it on my heart to come back and do this again. I don't necessarily know, like when I was thinking of my future, when I was a senior in college, that I'd be having confessionals like this to a camera. It's a weird thing. Like, it's not a normal thing. It's very first world problems to even complain about it, and I'm not. But my friend, in this moment, she compared herself to me, and she's like, gosh, listen to me complaining about my job, and here you are getting ready to launch this book and putting so much good out and just receiving it back tenfold, and you're even excited for your birthday, and I'm dreading my birthday, just all the, like, she was so down on herself and she was so up on me. And I just stopped her and I was like, man, I know that you follow my socials and I love you for that. She's a good friend, but like, do you think that that's really what I've been going through? You hear the backside of it. You hear the other side of the story. You hear my long audio messages. You hear my weirdness. You hear the stories of the last month of my life has not been a cakewalk. And she's like, I know, but like, above everything else, you're just so positive. And there's such a thing as toxic positivity. But like, that's the Holy Spirit, guys. That's not me just chirping around. That is something living in me. And that is something that can make you a new creation too. It's available to everybody. I don't want you to think I was just born like Lady Gaga, born this way. Like, it takes work and it takes effort. And she was trying to pay me a compliment, and well received, thank you. But I'm not just optimistic. And I do feel like we hold other people to such a pedestal sometimes. And I'm like, I keep trying to say her name, I don't want to say it. But like, I'm like, girl, you know what I'm posting on social media isn't the whole story. Nobody posts their whole story online, even if they're working here. I said this to a friend a few years ago, and it's kind of stuck with me, because it's like a 10-minute testimony, like somebody's short story, their testimony, that's what we say in like the Christian world usually, is like their story of how they came to Jesus, or their evolution of their life in Christ, or, however you want to say it. But I just said, a 10-minute testimony is not like a press pass full access to someone's life. First of all, you can't say it all in 10 minutes. Nobody's life is that straightforward. And second of all, we don't have to share. We should not lie to people, but nothing says that we have to share everything. And I hear this a lot from women that stay home. And being somebody that stayed home for 2 years and, during COVID at that, had a lot of time to think, had a lot of time to look, had a lot of time to compare. I had to jump off of social media because the anxiety was off the charts, the comparison, all these things. And all I was seeing on social media was just bad news bears. There was an election going on in 2020, woof, and then, of course, the pandemic. And I just am here to reiterate that we all have a choice how we use the tools that we have. And we need to remember that nobody is putting everything out there. And if you are, you should stop. It's not a good thing to put every part of your life out publicly. That's just not smart. It's not a good move. I'm a business person. I'm on the internet with a purpose and a mission, but I am not on there to share with my every whim and thought and desire. It's not a Zanga 2005 situation. It's just not. And I've seen some fun usage of Threads. I don't know if you guys are on Threads. It's like Twitter, but like the Instagram version, or the meta version, I should say. And I've been seeing a lot of cool usages of Threads like a diary. I've even seen anonymous, faceless threads are typically faceless, but accounts that are, anonymous. And I'm a big fan of the Post Secret vibe. If you're not following Post Secret, you should look that up. Humans of New York, humanity based media like that. I'm a big fan of it. But with Threads, what's happening is, if you put that out there, that just, to me, if you put that level of information out there, and people, they want access to your life. It's hard. Okay, my point is this. Where I'm trying to go is this. Once you give that much access of your life, it's hard to take it back. Once people see certain things of you, they expect that. And especially if you're living your life online like I am, you should have control over the areas that you wish to speak in and on and share. So my therapist and I were talking about this. I have therapy on Thursdays, and this is the reason why I felt compelled to re-record, because she's like, you have a right to process things in private. Just because you're doing this again and you're back online, she's a good way of taking me down a couple pegs that I don't even know I need to go down, because I don't think I'm a big deal at all. I think it's weird that this is going on again, but she's like, you have every right and should process in private. Should not be I do a lot of journaling in the mornings. I don't know if anybody else journals. I find it extremely therapeutic. It's mostly stream of consciousness, kind of short story-esque. And it's about my life. It's what's in my head. It goes out through the paper. I am under no way obligated to share any of that raw journaling that I'm doing. My work online is not an all access pass, nor would people want to read it. It's kind of a train wreck. I don't think that you would enjoy that type of media from me. I really don't. So process in private. And if you like to process things in public, if you're an external processor like I am, and you feel like you've kind of come to terms with the topic, go for it. Don't let people shame you for that either. I've seen some amazing content, we're talking real content from people that are processing some things and maybe have gone through it and they're paying it forward. Neither one of those are wrong or right. So, you've got my friend and she's down on herself, and how many times have you diminished your own value, either as self-deprecating or diminished your own value to make somebody else feel better? I had this weird thing that happened a few weeks ago, and I don't know why it was still on my brain, but I brought it up to my therapist because I was like, if this was 4 weeks ago, I need to talk about this. So I'm in adult dance classes, okay? Taking tap, clogging. And for the recital, everybody comes out at the finale and does a very famous vaudeville style dance. Well, I know the dance. It's very well known. And I don't want to say, because I don't want to, spoil the show for anybody going, but we all do it together. All levels and ages of tap do this dance together. And the instructor and the owner of the studio asked me, "Oh, well, surely you know this dance. Like, I'm a tapper from way back." And I instinctually lied. Guys, I mean, this is kind of heavy, but like, why was my first instinct? I'm not a liar. Like, I don't make that a habit. And when I do, I always feel terrible after. Why was that my first instinct, to lie? And I nuggeted that because it doesn't happen very often to me anymore. But like, I needed to just process it at a time when I had more space. And one of the things my therapist said that I just want to like serve on a platter to you today. First of all, you should go to therapy. Like, you should do it for yourself. It's worth it. You're worth it. It is the turning point of my life, really. Having a great therapist in my court has changed the game. But she said to me, she was like, "Well, were you lying for yourself? Like, you didn't want to reveal the truth?" Because that's something that I've done. And she knows that. She's good at keeping it real. She's like, "Or were you lying to make that person feel better? Like, oh, you don't want to be like a know-it-all." And that is something that I've done a lot of in the past, because I've not been received well in certain circumstances when I say things that are true of me. And examples of that would be like how many degrees I have, certain projects that I've been involved in, certain clients that I've worked with. When I lead with those facts, historically, not good, very unrelatable, very demure. No, it hasn't gone well for me. And so I think I've been in such the headspace of like diminishing myself. And that can be good. We're going to get to that. But I should be in the headspace of being myself. And that's powerful when you have that realization. I just had it today, but that was powerful. And it's just like, and of course, if I went back to this person and said, "I'm sorry for lying to you," they wouldn't even remember. Like, it was a quick thing, but why was it my first instinct? Like, I want to get rid of that. And again, it doesn't happen very often. It just, instinctually, I didn't want that person to think I was a know-it-all, is really what it was. And that's a shame, because I don't know it all, but knowledge is not a source of shame. Knowledge is power, and knowing things is, I wish more people did. Let's just put it that way. So that's one. And then another friend recently, this has all been around social media, and friends of mine in real life kind of coming to terms and understanding my role in social media and my work. And, I'm kind of an enigma to people. They don't know exactly what I'm doing, even though I do talk a lot about the projects I'm involved in. So this person happens to be on my close friends filter on Instagram. And I don't know, there's like 70, 80 people on there. It's people I know in real life or people that I work with, like, associates that I work with online that I know. And it's just a little deeper into me. I don't feel comfortable with the amount of views and stuff. I don't feel comfortable putting pictures of my family out there. But like, for this little filter, I can. And I can also, just post a little more freely on opinionated topics too. And I use it sparingly. But this person, you can tell it's not the morning when I'm recording this. I'm a lot more alive in the morning, so I apologize for that. But this person, first of all, I don't think they meant to be rude, but I took it a little hard. They said that I stopped posting my highlight reels. And that's a play on words because Instagram has reels, right? And I was like, what? I didn't know if they were talking about stories. I didn't know. And they're like, "Oh, like all the cool pictures of like you and Annie and all the fun things that you guys do every week. And like you stopped posting those. What's going on? Are you okay?" Jump scare. Whoa. I had been posting them pretty regularly for a few weeks, maybe a month or two. I don't remember. And they were fun. I was like putting them to music and I'm a multimedia gal. Like they were fun to create in Instagram there. But I stopped because I was lacking time. My own content is always the thing that's gonna, I will help everybody else get theirs done before I get mine done. But then also, I really Like, I was going through a hard time, so authentically, I was probably not taking as many photos, because who stands back and takes a picture of a train wreck, right? Like, when things are going terrible, I'm probably not taking as many pictures day to day. Like, I'm just not. Like, that's just, I'm not going to say I'm not taking any, because if you know me, you know I'm all the pictures. Like, I'm taking pictures. I see the world in pictures. Like, I instinctually pick up my phone to take pictures. It's just part of who I am. And so, that being said, first of all, you haven't been posting the highlight reels. Are everything okay? It was a little tongue-in-cheek. I don't know if I appreciated it really, but I'm not mad. I did take that as something that maybe I need to think about. And it's true. For over a month, I haven't posted one. And I was posting them pretty regularly since January. Well, highlight reels, and you've heard this time and time again, highlight reels are not reality. No, they're not. These were just collections of photos and little like memes and stuff I had collected over the course of 7 days. I was just picking my favorites and putting them to music. That's all I was doing. But we don't collect bad pictures. We don't take pictures of the hard times. When I'm crying, and I'm an ugly crier, when I'm crying, I don't always snap a picture of myself. And so the other day I was having a real bad day. It was Tuesday. I was having a rough one. And I took a picture of myself while I was crying. And I sent it, and this is intense, okay? I know that. I'm a very intense human, for those that aren't on board with that already. I sent it to the person that made me cry. And I didn't do it with an ill intent. I didn't do it to get a rise out of them or for sympathy. I sent it to them as a human. Because if we were in real life, they would have seen the reaction. And I just said, I'm going to need some time and space because this is way too much. Like, I didn't know this was coming. And I'm only sending this to you so you know what I would look like if we were, face to face. I will be okay. And I was okay. It took me about 20 minutes. That person had a complete 180. Like, seeing that, they couldn't believe. I'm super sensitive. I just am. Like, I can't help it. They couldn't believe that I was to that point, and not only were they, remorseful, which I appreciate, because I do believe they took it too far, but, also, they learned something about me, and they learned in the future what to avoid, and I could tell it was genuine. So I think, when we communicate via email or text or whatnot, and that's what this is, it was texts, I think we need to remember that we're not in real life and it is flat. And no matter how many emojis you put in there, it can be interpreted a lot of ways. That's something that I've had on my mind recently. I went back through and read through some conversations, and I was just, racking my brain. And the reality, and I know this, the reality is their perception is their reality. It really doesn't matter what your intention was. Although you should have good intentions, and I think the person knows I do have good intentions, but I just, really, it's so important to have clear communication, but just sending that one picture completely changed the dynamic of the conversation, probably the trajectory of the working relationship, to be honest with you, because they didn't know what they didn't know about me. And now they do, and that's kind of like a boundary. They made a point. I mean, the highlight reel thing, it's a good point. And it wasn't something that I intentionally stopped doing, but when I think about it, it makes sense. We're going to be quieter when times are hard. Not everybody goes out there and, live streams their tears on the internet like I have in the past. But past that, not everybody goes out there and journals a big blog post to heal and wants to heal out loud. And that's okay. It's also okay to heal out loud. So all of those things should be permitted. But here's the real kicker. And this is probably the one that made me re-record this tonight. My therapist pointed out a really big habit of mine as a content creator. And I mean, this woman's been with me for a while, so she knows what I'm capable of. And she also knows it's really good to have a relationship long-term with somebody like that, like a working relationship with a therapist, because she just knows my stuff. She knows how to call me out. She knows how to hold me accountable. if your therapist can't hold you accountable, who can? I mean, that should be the person to do it. So I have what's the right word? I have the right to post in future time. Meaning when I'm creating content on my life, as I do, I'm a creator, I'm a content person, I have the right to post that in the future and not have an immediate thing. And I have an example of this, of the story at the end. I am not a machine, nor a robot. I am not AI. I think I was an early adopter of AI. I saw the way it could be leveraged for good. You know, that's the thing about the word leverage. If you would Google marketing leverage, you should. You would see the usage, I think Gemini will come up, AI. And the third paragraph down, you'll see marketing automation and leverage and how it is helpful to get a message out. Leveraging technology is a good thing. However, I've seen so much ChatGPT content, people not rehumanizing the content. That is a very important step to take. It's great to use it as a research assistant. It's great to use it, maybe as a very rough draft or just for bullets, an outline, but it's not great when I see these posts and the first thing I think is, I don't care what your robot has to say. And I see it every day, especially with newer marketers. I got people in my coaching program, God bless you, but I'm having to call them out left and right. I didn't ask what ChatGPT thought. I wanted to know your response. I do things in there that help build writing skills, like have them respond to scripture and songs. And some people are like, this is busy work. It's not. It's super important work. If you don't have words about you to cover emotional topics, how will you connect with an audience and evoke the emotion that goes with a sale? How? You won't. I've been doing this a while, okay? So these writing assignments are cumulative and they have an impact and they're for a purpose. And a response from ChatGPT sticks out like a sore thumb. I think about school. I'm sure that's just changing everything. When I was in college, they were just starting to make us put our papers through a plagiarism detector. But the problem was the technology was terrible. I mean, it was just flat out terrible. And so, I would have all original writing because I love to write. And it would still flag it as 20% somebody else's content. And I think there was a threshold of 30 or 40 where they would get concerned. But I'd be I swear to you, I wrote that myself. And I would just get so, upset with the technology. Well, here's the thing. Don't rush. I want to be really intentional how I say this. Don't rush the creative process. 1, for instant gratification of likes. I've done it. Dopamine hit. Don't do it. Don't do it. 2, don't have experiences in real life just so you can post about them. I've also done that. Guilty. And don't do it. It doesn't lead to a good place. It leads to bigger drugs. That's what it leads to. Bigger dopamine hits. Don't do it. And, number 3, don't rush to curate a story that needs to breathe. That breathing and letting a story breathe is something that a college professor, I just love it. I think about it all the time because we should all let our stories breathe and marinate. Don't rush home. The babies, the new ones, they do this, and I've done it before, so I've gotcha. But don't rush home after an event like I almost did last night. Rush home. I gotta get this out of me. I gotta write this down. This is the good stuff. It is the good stuff. It's going to be just as good tomorrow when I write about it, because I didn't let myself write about it last night. It's going to be just as good tomorrow morning when I get some time at my keyboard as it would have been last night. I don't believe in the phenomenon of it has to be right when it happens. It has to be in the moment. Maybe years, if something was years old, perhaps, but don't get stuck in the grind of content creation that you can't process reality as it's coming at you. Don't cut off your emotions in the middle, because I'll tell you, it was exciting what happened. I'm going to tell the story and then I'm going to make my post about it. But because I did have some time to write about it. But I'm ashamed. I already told you guys I lied to my dance teacher of all people. I'm ashamed to say this, but we should say more things like this. So I'm going to say it. Instantly, my first thought when I saw this happen last night, grab my phone. Like, this is a picture. This is a post. Years and years offline. And so much desensitization has happened for me. You know, not even having it on my phone. Like, I mean, you know, so much. I'm still experiencing real life and thinking about how I post it and what I'm going to write. Found myself doing it at the gym the other day. I was in this class that I can just kind of like turn my brain off. And I think I talked about it in episode 1. Like, I just, you know, that 50 minutes is just mine. I don't have to really think or do. I found myself thinking about social media content and posting. Be present. The present is a present. I know that's cliche, but like, as a creator, live your life. Re-examine your camera reel and your notes app as needed later. Live your life. I just want to empower you. I think this is on my mind because of a couple of reasons. The conversation with my friend and realizing what I'm posting is not reality and not a fourth of it. So, you know, come on. But then also college students are graduating, and you know, I went and did the portfolio review process with William Woods this year, and I've been in contact with a couple of the students, and so I think maybe that is eliciting this too. But really, like, honestly, don't get married to the show of social media. Whether you're just showing off your family because you guys are cute and awesome people and you just want to show and tell, or you're showing results for a client, or you're showing a project, like you're showing progress and discipline. That's one that I get caught up in sometimes, is like not even like the numbers of followers and things. It's really just like, I am so disciplined. I'm so this. I've done this. You know, like, that's an ego thing. We have to decrease so Christ can increase inside of us. And when I was having that conversation with my therapist, you know, at the beginning of the podcast, when I was talking about processing in public and, you know, me becoming small and not wanting to show my fullness of already knowing this dance that the instructor asked me about. Initially lied, like just initial reaction, gut reaction, boom, lied, said I didn't know it. Why should I be afraid to be who I am? What would be wrong with knowing that? A lot of people know that routine. I know that it wasn't like a baiting question. She just wanted to know. Like, she didn't know how much she needed to teach it, you know? I really, truly feel like when we don't come to the table as our full selves, I feel like I'm finally doing that. I had a big weekend last weekend. A lot of like closure on some topics for me and a lot of just boxing up things, and that's where I'm going to end today. But like, and I've already known to do those things. They've been repeatedly told to me in scripture and in real life. So this was just the time that I chose to take it. But, you know, if we are truly going through our life to create content, and that is our vocation, that is our personality, that is who we are because we are our own brand, that's a really sad existence. Don't let that be your normal. Don't, you know, I really want to empower people that are like just going into this line of work, or, you know, have found me in a season where, oh, perhaps it would be easy to be like, she's probably got it easy, you know, the people are mailing her these gifts and whatnot. And yeah, with great power comes great responsibility, you know, like, I then have to rehome those items that people do send me because I cannot keep them all. It's not physically possible. But beyond that, be your full self. Be your true self. And if you can't, it's not the right room. We talked about that today. I'm on a networking call most Thursday mornings, and it's just wonderful. It's a She Rises Authors thing, and it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful community to be part of. Very blessed. But, this was 2025 was, the founder of She Rises, the co-founder, Hannah. This was her year, like, to get in the room. Like, this was her year to get out and get on the road and get, create rooms for people and spaces for people to grow. And I think that's, amazing. Like, I did get in the room earlier this year and I went to Content Day and I'm attending these networking meetings. But, like, your ego has to completely decrease. So don't get it wrong. The ego has to decrease, but you need to be yourself in full. You need to check your ego at the door, because that's a totally different thing. That's not confidence. That's something else. So pray on that. Release that if you feel like you've got an ego issue. I pray on that all the time because I'll feel something cropping up and I'm like, no. That's years of discernment, I'm sure. But sure, you should increase so the spirit can decrease within you. But at the same time, know your worth. It's a very delicate, little balance there. But I think that's so important. And I think that's where this powerful phase that I'm in is coming from. And lastly, I will just say it's okay, as you're processing things in real time and not posting about them and saving them for later, a later gram is just as good. I believe a later gram is better because you haven't hurried to the finish line of a sloppy piece of content. You've probably taken time to curate it and fully think on what you're posting. And yeah, we're all going to have fun little posts here and there for sure. I'm not advocating for no fun on social media. All I'm saying is don't feel like you have to post things so immediately or they're not relevant and it's not post worthy. I'm going to post a bunch about my trip to China last year, eventually. I've got tons of content that I was just working on, both in written and photographic content, video content. I didn't have time. I was writing a book. I didn't have time to stop and produce the content I wanted to from China. I made a couple of reels here and there. But there was so much more to see and to talk about. And a recap is necessary. So you'll see me posting year-old content at some point. Of course, it'll have a disclaimer on it, but you can post in future time. You don't have to post in the real time. That's okay. Like, nobody says that's not okay. Promote yourself and use this as a litmus test. I'm going to end here because we're getting wordy. Promote yourself. Let's say you're a new creator, you're just coming out of college, or maybe this is kind of like your second wind. Like, you've already had a career and this is something that you're coming to. If you wouldn't share it yourself, if you wouldn't share your own writing to your own page, first of all, what was the point of writing it? And maybe you're like, oh, Kristin, I just don't share things. Okay, that's weird. Like, that's not the norm. Most people do share things. So let's just say you do share things. Okay, let's just say hypothetically you do share things. Would you share the content? Is it good enough? That's the litmus test, guys. If it's not good enough, you're not on the right path. When the content is on fire, you're completely aligned and excited about what you're promoting, which for me is Jesus, and I do have a book coming out. But you're aligned and people see that in you. And Tuesday night, I was leaving the dance studio for my adult tap class. And I look over, so there's a spot where it's just like I kind of sit. Usually it's at a stop sign, but it's at the bottom of a hill that nobody goes to. So the stop sign's kind of irrelevant. And I'll just like kind of sit there and just like take a breather, like before I go home and, have to enter into bedtime and whatever, like just have an energetic breather right there. And I was doing that on Tuesday night. And, taking time to pray is really important for me. I find that when I walk back in the house after being somewhere, I won't take the time to pray. Like, I try to do it in the transitional moments. So I had a lot to pray over. There was a lot of things. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys ever do this, sometimes I just say, let me know your presence. Not show me a sign. It's not an Ace of Base song. Just let me know your presence. Like, please. And every single time, I don't do that like every prayer, I don't try to upset the apple cart, ask for too much, whatever, however you want to say that. But every single time that I have, prayed in that manner and used those words, it will reveal itself to me quite quickly. And I think that's a huge thing about being like in tune with yourself, having discernment, because not even 20 seconds after I wrapped up the prayer, I drank a little bit of water. I kind of mounted my phone to the vent so I could do my Spotify. And it's just normal Kristin stuff before I get ready to drive off. But I look over, and it was the most stunning white deer, like a white stag, that I've ever seen. I know they exist. I Googled it all and everything, but I've never seen one in real life, even though I lived on a farm for years. Beautiful, like an albino deer, essentially, like a white stag is what I Googled it about. And if you're a Harry Potter nerd like me, you're already freaking out. You're like, it's our Patronus! Like, ah! You can think what you want about that. I've had a magical Harry Potter year already this year. You can read that on Instagram if you want. But my initial reaction was, oh, I have to get a picture of this, But then and I'm embarrassed, but I pick up my phone and I'm like, oh, Kristin, don't zoom, because I have a really big zoom on my phone. Don't zoom too much, because then the image will be pixelated. Like, I was worried about the content, the quality of the content for you guys. I wasn't worried about having that experience and seeing this beautiful thing right in front of me. And, how many times in life are we missing out on the beautiful sign that's right in front of us because we're thinking about the next thing? We're thinking about, oh, I need to post about that. We're thinking about our grocery list when we're in church. Or we're thinking about the next activity during the current one. It's good to have forward motion in life, for sure, 100%. However, I just feel like that is really, you've heard spark joy and all these things. That's stealing joy. That's the opposite of sparking joy. And we don't want any opposites. We want to be moving forward. So use as a litmus test for yourself. As a creator, would you authentically share this? If not, we got to figure that out. Like, that's major, right? But promoting yourself has become such a cringe thing. I just got to say right now, hats off to all of you that are building your brands, doing it with little to no applause, really. I'll be clapping for you. Like, if you asked me to follow you, I will be clapping for you the whole way. And also the people that I see, in various other parts of life. But the people that I see in day-to-day passing is what I mean. But seriously though, if you are a creator, show up for others. It will help you tenfold. You'll create some great friends, but that's what this experience is all about. Why create and share the content if it's not something you'd be happy to have your name on? If you were to write all of the words on your heart and in your mind, on your arms and on your body, would you like what you saw? These are all important mental health questions that you should check in with yourself on. And if the answer is no, you're probably in a perfect situation to go and speak to somebody about it. And there's no shame in that, no shame whatsoever. If you live with somebody that could benefit from that, it's hard to talk about it, but talk about it. They are going to love you so much more in the future if they have the right help and support around them. So that's it. That's the litmus test. And the story is, I see this beautiful white deer, and unfortunately my first thought is content, can't be zooming in because it's not going to be clear for the content. But also, this is amazing, and this deer is so close to me, and I want a memory. I was trying to get a video made. I just, I was panicked in the moment, as we do. That's typical. And this is such a majestic looking creature. I'm like, is this real? They must know this is back here, all the time. People must see this thing. And I don't know. I've gone to dance there for over a year with my daughter, and I've never seen it. But I do know God is real. And I do know that when I prayed in that car, I didn't pray for a sign, but I said, let your presence be seen and felt by me. Fill me with your spirit. I said those words. God, there's no limit. God will make it happen for you. It may not be what you asked for exactly or how you thought it should happen, but He never fails. So I just want to encourage you to reach out to me via DM or email me, and you can say prayer, or you can ask a specific question. If I don't have an answer, of course, I'll talk to somebody. But thank you guys for just allowing me to do what I do, to yap, to talk about mental health, all of the things that are super important to me. It's a cool time right now just because I have this little extra spot in the summer and extra time with my daughter. So it's slightly more busy now, but I promise I will get back to you. And I appreciate everything so much. So before this gets too much longer, my name is Kristin Louise. Thank you for listening to The Up. I hope you'll subscribe on YouTube and, download the podcast on Spotify. And just proceed and be kind to everybody. I know Ellen used to say that, but just proceed in love and light. Be kind and much love. Until next time.